Oh. I didn't expect anyone to be here yet, with the hunt barely ended. The queen and the rest of her court will be along soon enough, once her woes are settled. But for now, you'll have to make do with me for company. I should remember my manners. If you come with no ill intent, be welcome at the autumn bonfire. It's the traditional greeting. Also, it's practical. If someone does have ill intent, it wouldn't be a very good idea to offer them my queen's hospitality, would it? So, assuming for now that you don't, what brings you to the bonfire? It's been a long time since we've had a mortal join our story circle after a hunt. Oh, I do know who you are. You're the human on a quest for the Lord of Winter. Right, the King of Winter. Did he send you to our bonfire to hear a story? I'm not sure how many old stories I know. You might be better asking the chronicler for those. Although, of course, they're all going to have his bias, no matter how much he says he doesn't have one. I could tell you about the founding of the spring and autumn courts. How about that? That's the furthest back I know of. And your king wasn't there, so it would be a story he couldn't tell you firsthand. All right, then. A very long time ago, the lands devolved into chaos in the wake of a great war. A fairy lord had declared himself king and sought to force all other fae to bow beneath his blood-soaked banner, mustering the might of many fae knights loyal to his rule. But the rush of his fierce assault broke against a pair of clever fae lords who stood defiant against the king's tyranny, using magic and ingenuity to overcome their foes' greater numbers. With his army scattered and weakened, the king's power diminished as well. But his defeat came at a great price to the lands where the battles took place. The defiant lords scourged their own domains, and his, in order to ensure the king's downfall. One of the lords so greatly depleted his own power in the process that it was hard to see how his land could recover. The threat was ended, but there was no clear path for what might come after. This is where my queen enters the story, though she was not yet called a queen. My lady, and another who had earned her deep respect, held themselves apart from the war, foreseeing the harm that would come to the lands from the tyrant king's unbridled aggression, and the force required to meet his violence with equal power. Having anticipated the devastation did not allow them to prevent it, but it gave them the opportunity to prepare for its aftermath. Meeting in the ruins where both fae and land had been laid low, these two great ladies vowed that such destruction should never again be allowed to blight this realm. And between them, they had the power and will to bring that shared conviction into being. From the destruction wrought by the collapse of a kingdom arose two new courts, each headed by a wise queen. My lady's domain of lush twilight woods and bounteous harvest became glorious autumn, and the other's golden mornings filled with blossoming life were elevated into our fitting counterpart of spring. Some short-sighted fae might question the wisdom of replacing the threat of a king with two queens, but that would only expose the limitations in their vision. The danger of the tyrant king came from the power he amassed, unopposed. By the time the defiant lords chose to stand against him, his strength had grown too great to be met by any means other than sheer destruction. Had this king been challenged by an equal early in his rise, he might have been held in check without such drastic measures. Now you see the genius of my queen's plan. Balance. With autumn and spring flourishing together, each led by a strong queen, there could be no risk of one growing into a threat that the other could not counter. And that's how the current courts were founded. The important parts, at least. More details and agreements got added later, like the Lord of the Desert declaring himself the King of Summer in his sandy wasteland, and your king placing his claim on the name of Winter. But the core of the current system was set by the original agreement between the Queens of Autumn and Spring. Well, that's the oldest story I know. If you want to go back further than the Red King's War, I don't think even the chronicler's going to be much help with that. To get the sort of stories you're looking for, your best plan may be the deep forest, the dark hours past midnight. Have you been there? Well, I can tell you how to get there, but once you pass beyond the bounds of autumn, you'll have to fend for yourself. Still want to go? You're very loyal. Hope your king realizes what he has. Alright. To find the deep forest, you'll start by walking away from the bonfire into the autumn woods. Keep the fire's light to your back and let your eyes adjust to the dim twilight as you pass beneath the boughs of my queen's trees. Keep walking, letting the fallen leaves cushion your footsteps and the crisp air clear your head. You may eat any ripe berries or nuts that you pass if you grow hungry on your journey. Autumn's bounty is free to all travelers. You probably shouldn't pick the mushrooms, though. Keep walking, even if the horns and howls of my hunt echo through the woods all around you. Hunters hemming you in on every side. You must walk, never run. The Queen's wolves know their prey. The twilight will get deeper as you go. The sky's lavender gray deepening to purple, and then towards an inky black. And the air will grow ever colder. Keep walking, as the trees become bare skeletons, and the leaves beneath your feet blacken and crunch with frost. Keep walking, as the light of the silvery moon first swells to illuminate your way, then fades to dim nothingness. Keep walking, even as the path in front of you becomes too dark to see. Everything around you growing black, except for the faint, crystalline sparkle of stars in the cold sky above. If you want to find the deepest heart of the night woods, you can't stop. Keep walking. You won't need to find who you're looking for. He'll find you, if he's going to talk to you. And if he isn't going to, no amount of searching will matter. But he'll want to talk to you, I think. You're interesting. The trickster, of course. If anyone's going to remember stories from before the courts, it'll be him. Don't let his name scare you. Or his appearance. Or his reputation. Well, some of his reputation is earned. I'll give him that much. But still, don't be scared. It won't hurt you unless you give him a reason to. Fae say that he's devious and mischievous and unpredictable and, well, he is. He is all of those things. But mostly, if you ask me, he's bored. And that's what's going to work in your favor. You're something he hasn't seen before. A mortal on a quest for the Winter King, prying into things that were probably forgotten for a reason. He'll like that. He'll be fine. Probably. It's easy, really. Just ask him your questions and listen carefully to what he tells you. Don't believe everything he tells you. He is called the trickster. But if you listen to his words carefully, you should be able to figure out what parts matter. Your king trusted you with this quest, right? If he believes in you, then you should believe in yourself, too. But you don't have to go just yet, if you aren't ready to. I can hardly kick you out after offering the hospitality of the bonfire. The Queen and the others should be here soon. They'll have more stories to share. Probably not the ones you're looking for, but you never know until you ask. You're welcome to sit by the fire a little longer. Store up some warmth before you walk into the cold night of the deep woods. It's always good to go into the dark with a little glow inside you. You can stay here until you find yours.